And now, here to accept the award for John Goodman, who couldn't be here tonight, is a modern-day Barton Fink. He's a theater director and playwright who has also written for something called the BBC. No idea. Also, and A&E, two better letters, A&E's Hoarders, which I think is a reality show, I'm not sure. Anyway, please welcome Marcus Goodwin, everybody.
So, I think great acting, like all great art, is unpredictable, illogical. It takes us by surprise. It has, in short, an element of insanity to it. So it was interesting to start watching these films again after so long, and actually finding that these year's nominees are playing characters that are actually insane, ranging from the unhinged to the full-on barking mad. You've got to admit that unless you live with them, mad people are actually entertaining to watch, which is why Londoners back in the day would travel to the madhouse at Bedlam for kicks. So you can't beat a good lunatic in a film, and this year we had Ian Holm, who basically had an air of somebody who could stab you in the eye without even blinking. Jack Palance, who lassos a man and throws a knife at his crotch within 30 seconds of his first appearance. Gary Oldman as Lee Harvey Oswald is hardly a model of lucid thought. And then John Goodman and Ted Levine, well, they're serial killers. So I don't know what conclusion to draw from that, but that's kind of fascinating that 20 years later we're focusing on totally insane people. Jack Palance, as you know, won the Oscar 20 years ago, and he was a crusty old guy who does crazy things with lassos and knives. But he had I think, a moment of vulnerability that got him the award last year, which was the key scene that he had with Billy Crystal when he talks of the love that got away. And he also showed that he was an observer, an acute thinker, surprisingly beneath that crusty exterior. And so he kind of died as a wise mentor figure in that film, like halfway through, as all mentors tend to do. They die during the course of the film. But what's interesting is that bar Jack Palance, 4 of these nominees are in fact nominated first time round, as we heard. And I'm personally glad to see Ian Holm, because I thought he was he's a terrific actor who's a craftsman, meticulous in everything he does. Every shift of the eye and turn of the head has a meaning. And he has total economy of movement. So I thought he was a deserved nominee this year round. And his unnatural stillness, I think, is quite unsettling. Gary Oldman, again, great to see him on the nominee list this year. He creates that, or gives that shifty, nervy, jumpy quality that we have seen kind of from Oswald from the newsreel. So he gives an air of authenticity to the role. So again, I can see why he was there, and he really should have been there 20 years ago. Perhaps it's actually because he has this great way of being able to almost disappear into a role that he actually went by unnoticed. Ted Levine, to me, when I was watching the films again, I couldn't get over how much I was haunted by that scene at the top, when he's at the top of the pit looking down at his captive beneath him, the woman that he's captured. And I think what got him on the list this year was that moment where when his captive screams up to be released, you see him look away, and he seems conflicted. He's perhaps contemplating doing something, a moment of change perhaps. And that ability to show lots of levels underneath it all made him, I think, a worthy contender. But I think, in comparison, John Goodman seems a lightweight as a killer, because he merely chops people's heads off, rather than, as Buffalo Bill does, actually make them into clothes. But as an actor, Goodman gives his character great complexity. You know, he has the face of a clown, but as the insurance salesman he pretends to be, he's plausible, sympathetic, the friendly next-door neighbor type, an everyman. And at the same time, he can drop his trademark beaming smile and suddenly be very earnest and vulnerable, giving the sense that his character has a hinterland. But he never overdoes it, so it's a complete revelation when we find out that he is in fact a mass murderer. Like Ted Levine, he has a key scene, and it's not the famous, you know, stunning scene where he runs down the flaming corridor with a sawn-off shotgun. It's the scene afterwards in Barton's room where we see how damaged he is when he talks about people can be cruel, and he talks about wanting to help people out and saying, I wish someone would do the same for me. And you see there that he's in his own hell psychologically, so rather than escape from the blazing hotel, from the fire that he set, he returns to his room to die in the hell-like flames. And at the end, he's managed to come across impossibly as a sympathetic, almost cuddly serial killer. His performance is compelling and oddly moving because he doesn't seem that insane. So when I come to compare Goodman's performance to Gary Oldman's in Ian Holmes, I think the latter two lack that key moment, or key moment of change, or a moment where the audience can connect. And when I compare Goodman to Jack Palance and Ted Levine's performances, I think a lot of the on-screen impact of Jack Palance and Ted Levine's characters is aided by some nifty camera work. The striking silhouette, for instance, that you have when Jack Palance first appears, and the kind of the villainous music that runs underneath, and with Goodman, I think he makes his impact without directorial flourishes. He does it simply with the words. So, although this speech might have been an opportunity to draw attention to an unacknowledged great supporting role from an actor in some other film, like some obscure indie film from Kazakhstan, I have to agree with the voting panel that John Goodman does prove himself to be a heavyweight among actors and thoroughly deserves the award. And frankly, I feel relieved to say that because he is big and scary, and I was worried he might come after me with that sawn-off shotgun.